Today, we're doing an introduction to Google Docs in the classroom, led by three of our Google Apps for Education certified trainers, Lainie, Angela, and Cathleen. And they'll be walking through different ways that you can use Google Docs, as well as some tips of how to use Google Docs that you might not be aware of. So I'm going to pass this over to Lainie so that she will be able to present. A quick note, again, this webinar is being recorded, so you will be able to access this later on. I will also be sharing with you all of the resources, including their presentation and the Q&A transcript. So if you have a question throughout the presentation, please enter it into the Q&A box. It's the bubble that's got a little question mark inside it, and that way everybody can see the question and we can type in the answers. And any unanswered questions we will address at the end of the webinar, and if we're not able to get it then Lainie, Cathleen, Angela, and myself will go through it afterwards, and you'll get a transcript of the Q&A so you can access it later on. So, and here is Lainie, Angela, and Cathleen.
Hello, everybody. This is Cathleen. We want to thank all of you for joining us today. We want everyone just to sit back and relax and enjoy the webinar. We have so many awesome things to show you today. We don't want you to worry about trying to write down everything and write down all the URLs, because we will provide that for you. Notice in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, if you go to the URL, you will be able to get a copy of the presentation, and we'll provide the link again at the end of the webinar. We'll get started. We're so excited to be able to share so many awesome things with you today. Next. Today we want to talk about Google Docs. As you know already, it's an awesome suite of free tools. So we want to map out the plan for you today. We're going to go over an introduction, give you some tips on how to manage your classroom using Google Docs. Then Angela is going to jump into what's new, and Lainie's going to finish up with 10 tips in 10 minutes. And they're going to have a little Q&A. With Google Docs, you have access to a web-based word processor. You have Spreadsheets, a presentation tool, even a drawing and form tool. The latter two that I mentioned are real added bonuses to this collection of tools. Already, some of you may be saying, Kathleen, that sounds just like the other Office suite. And be correct, but Google Docs offers even more. Now, what I love about Google Docs is that you get all of the tools I just mentioned, but you will have the ability to create and edit documents from anywhere and collaborate with multiple people at the same time. So how many times have you needed to work with someone or a group of people project, and you needed to share a document or a spreadsheet or a presentation file, and you had to email those files back and forth? Well, Google Docs stops all of that madness. Now you and your students can collaborate and share that one file with multiple people. So it sounds pretty exciting, right? Well, you will learn more about all of these great functions during the webinar today, and you'll learn how they can be transformative, not only in a classroom setting. I think you'll also see transformation in yourself as an educator and with your students as well. If you'd like to learn more about exactly how Google Docs works, you can check out the video, Google Docs in Plain English, on YouTube. The link is on the screen, and we'll also send it out again later on. So let's take a look at a comparison of Google Docs and the other Office suite. Take a look at the screen. If you can see here, you've got a few of the comparisons that you can see. First and favorably is free. You can actually get Google Docs for free, where you have to do licensing with the other suite. Use your ears, right? Google Docs utilizes also cloud technology, and we have to kind of do a little bit of research on how cloud technology works, but one of the key components of this is that it allows you to share and collaborate anywhere and with multiple people. Computer-based tools don't provide this option. Next, you share any Google Doc with others via a shared hyperlink. I'll talk about collaboration. This is so important as we continue to teach our students 21st century skills. And Google Docs will allow multiple people to collaborate on a single document. Chat is into Google Docs, and this is a great Web 2.0 tool that allows our students to be able to chat and to experience an even more broad learning experience and take it to another level. Like revisions. Now, the revision feature keeps track of changes when made, and if the document has been shared with collaborators who made them. It also gives you the opportunity to compare two versions of the document and to revert any of these documents to the previous version. So whether you're working on your own or working with others, having a history of the different versions can really be helpful. Students how to revise is such an important skill, especially when they're working collaboratively. Now, revision is an important part of the writing process, so recognizing that need to teach our students that is very essential. Recently, Google teamed with Weekly Reader to help teachers teach revision skills in the classroom. If you navigate to the URL that you see at the bottom of the screen, you'll be able to get a PDF that you can use with your students to help them learn collaborative revision skills. And love that. Okay, let's take a look at another little trick and tip, which is organizing our documents. Now, once you get started with Google Docs, you're going to want to start organizing all of the documents you create, and you'll want to teach this valuable efficiency skill to your students as well. Now, you can do this by using standard document names and folders to keep organized. You can instruct students to name their files using a common naming scheme. Now, a good example of this is what you're seeing out on the screen. Note each entry is labeled by class period, then the student's last and first name, and then the name of the assignment. Now, this is a great feature to show students. It's kind of like the 21st century version of students putting a name at the top of their notebook paper. You're able to sort your document list name and all of the documents sorted nicely by period. Once they are labeled, students can basically submit their digital assignments, and you can create folders for each one of these assignments or even class periods. Place these documents in folders, or we like to call collections. It's kind of like an e-locker. So this will aid your students if they set up folders themselves for not only their classes, but also folders, project, or even more granular things like maybe vocabulary or writing journal entries. And this way they know exactly what folder to go and study in. Okay, so we want to look at timestamps. This is a great way for you to go in and sort your document list by date and see each of your students' documents sorted by the last time they edited their documents. Now, you will see these documents ordered by today, yesterday, earlier this week, and earlier this month. And this is a way to check at a glance which students have completed their assignments and which ones still need to do a little bit more work. Okay, let's take a look at some collaboration quick tips. One of the best features of Google Docs is the collaboration feature. Let's quickly take a look at two final tips. Teachers easily create templates and share them as view-only, and then have their students create a new copy from the file menu. Now, an example of how to do this is on the screen. Say you want your students to use graphic organizers repeatedly in the classroom, but you don't want to keep creating them over and over. So you can see on the screen a KWL chart. Now, this is a template like the one you would probably want to use. You instruct your students to create a new copy of this chart, and then they will use the naming structure that we talked about earlier and rename their copy appropriately. Their template stays intact. My last tip is using Google Docs for peer revision. Students use this feature to edit each other's writing and engage in the peer review process. You teach students to give constructive criticism by inserting comments and even footnotes. You can also get a little bit of an added bonus by being able to collaborate in real time. Students can insert lines to distinguish editing areas like you see on the screen, and they can even choose different color text for their revision. If you'd like to see exactly how this is done, you can view a great screencast by Google Certified Teacher and Trainer Lisa Thum at the URL you see on the screen. Additional ideas for using the collaboration feature also include maybe collaborative book reports or collaborative creative writing. Teachers can use the collaboration feature as well to monitor students' progress. This tool facilitates teacher comments on student essays. So no more waiting until students turn in their essay. You can check essays online and even make suggestions for revisions to drive successful proof-read projects from early on. And decide that you do want your students to print out their work, they'll already be proofed. Okay, now it's time to learn what's new with Angela.
Thanks, Kathleen. That was amazing. Amazing. You have just learned from Kathleen all things that Google can help you do and your students to create to collaborate and to share important ideas and information via Google Docs. I get the pleasure tonight to help you see all of the exciting things Google is doing to make these features of collaboration, creation, and sharing even better. The new launch features and elements of Google Docs will take your potential to work together and learn together to a whole new level. So, for the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to take you through some of the amazing new features and give you a little insight in still what is to come in Google Docs. So whether you're new to Google Docs or you've been using them quite some time, I'm still never ceasing to be amazed at what Google can do to help me and my students. Creation of a world-class document or presentation just got a whole lot easier in the last few months via Google Docs. There's lag time on the slides, so let those catch up. We just have one more slide. Out a whole slew of new changes and snazzy interface that will give your content an entirely new look and feel. The creative team at Google has added wonderful new themes, templates, amazing fonts that make it easy to create something not just useful, but beautiful. These themes and templates take advantage of high-quality source fonts, stock images, and their professional, sleek look and design. Their class and their style will not only make your work easier to look and work through, but as Google says, we're making the web more beautiful. The presentations are not just about looking good on the outside. Google rebuilt their entire interface from the inside out. So from now on, any time that you create a new Google Doc, it will feel more and more like a word processor. No accident. Google deliberately added features like the ruler, tab dots, margin indents, spell check, images, all to make it easier to insert pictures and drawings in the perfect form in the perfect way. This is in an effort to facilitate the creation, the editing, and the revision process. This interface allows us to put together with greater fidelity and flexibility that make your presentations shine. This new look and feel doesn't simply apply to Google Docs. As you can see from the fancy charts and graphs, Google Spreadsheets and presentations have also gotten a hefty upgrade. Features like wonderful charts, graphics, and visuals that make presentations and your spreadsheets look like professional. My favorite feature for all of those data-loving times that we have to sit together and collect all of the numbers, they auto-complete and drop, and my favorite, auto-fill. When you're doing those grade sheets, this comes very handy. We're actually working through Google presentations. So you can see tonight some of the features that Google presentations offer. Like viewing PowerPoint will now import your old presentation from PowerPoint. So if you've been using PowerPoint, you don't have to scratch all of your topics, all of your content. It will just insert an interface into Google Docs. If you want to create a new presentation, Google presentations come equipped with all the things you need. There's amazing templates, wonderful background designs, speed notes, presentation play features, and most recently, video embed. We're going to try that a little bit later tonight. It's such an easy format, and it's been amazingly simple to work with. You love it. Like Point and Keynote, Google presentations will allow you to publish and embed so you can show the world all you want to share. Super and really, really fast and easy to put together. Cathleen said, from the beginning, Google was built with collaboration in mind. Now up to 50 people. Can you imagine 50 students, 50 teachers, 50 people can successfully and easily work project together across time and across geography. Gone are the days of rewrites and email attachments because you don't have time to meet or plan. what's excited about are the social aspects being added to Google Docs, because Google understands, like you and I, that great content comes from great discussion. And to facilitate this critical social component, Google integrated the discussion thread within context of the work we're doing, via email or as a pop-out window on the doc itself. Collaboration is now embedded in the work that we're doing in real time, in context. Here's how it works. You will see time collaboration. I have been familiar with it, so you'll see real-time updates of who is making edits and who's not making edits. Off to the side, you will see the comment stream. So now collaborators can make comments, they can respond to the work being done, they can ask questions about the project while they're seeing the content edits in real time. It's a full social network, but you'll see many social networking features embedded and employed. As you see today, you see profile pictures, avatars, ad plays, links with outgoing links, time and date stamps, all making the work that you're doing, whether you're in the same room, feel like you're in the same room. Collaboration is not only faster and easier with these new interfaces, but it allows web users to follow and monitor and participate in real-time discussion, which makes the work much authentic. Google is very proud of its ability to share when and across the web. You notice that there's some key changes in organizing and managing your content. Cathleen brought up a really good analogy of we are asking kids to put names on the papers in virtual ways. So one of the new interfaces from moving from Google Docs before to Google Docs now is that rather than individual folders, as you saw in Kathleen's slide, your folder being labeled as what Google considers collections. They're larger organizational structures where individual files and individual content can be put in broad, more easily shareable formats. So you can share within a collection any individual piece or any individual component, or you share an entire selection. So I just finished a book and was able, with my writing partner, who I did not see once during the entire book, we did everything on Google Docs, and we shared entire collections, entire chapters, and eventually the entire book. I love opening my Google Docs now because I don't feel like my docs are all over in a huge mess. I just wish Google did house calls and could do this very same thing to my closet and my cupboards at home. I'm hoping for that app soon. A significant addition that I'm finding really transformative is that we've all experienced work that was bad because there was what I call a bad save, where the last person doing work, sometimes it's been me, has failed to make the last save or fails to convert a file, and hours of time and energy are lost. So controlling who views, who edits, and who can have visibility access to the work in progress is imperative. So Google has now put that entire control in your control. It's a really simple interface with 3 options. It appears and is available on every doc and every doc title. You get a window that looks like this. It will prompt you and ask, do you want to share this with anyone? Do you only want to share this with someone that you get a link to? Or do you want to keep the work in progress really private? That I wanted to talk to you about today can happen never, wherever you are, because Google has now gone mobile. It allows you to access and share and to change and to view documents right from your phone, any place, any time, and literally anywhere. So when you access your collections, for example, on your doc list, I can go right into my phone, I can start, I can search, I can create, I can open right there. Can we back one slide, Lainie? Changes on your phone, and what I really love is sometimes, like even now on the webinar, there's a little bit of delay. within seconds of editing a document, whether your collaboration partner or your students are in a different place, within seconds, the edits show up on their screen. So edits go across device and go across space. So I really love that. Google Viewer is now available, allowing you to view in a document from a spreadsheet to a presentation to a doc on most standardized smartphones. From Android to iPhone, you can now view images, docs, presentations, spreadsheets, you name it, you can do it. This is what I call Google on the go, and I don't leave home without it. It's hard to select what to share with you tonight because there's so many new things. What I love about Google and what I love about using these web-based tools is the constant innovation and improvement is the norm. Literally every week, new adaptation and advancement is there. It's really, really important to keep up. So tonight, I've only scratched the surface of what Google can do and what Google has in store for you. And you know with Google, there's always more. So I invite you to take a look at these features and places so that you can stay abreast of the new adaptations and changes. The first link is just an interface or a link where Google uploads some of the things that we talked about, new adaptations to docs, new adaptations to interfaces, and the updates can be monthly. So just keep looking, and there's much, much more than I was able to share with you tonight on the link called What's New at Google. The Google people I know, the Google engineers and creators talk about their process and the reason behind some of those updates on their Google blog, which is updated often. So subscribing to Google Docs blog gives you the latest in what their new features and what their new interfaces are. What I really have enjoyed is going on to Google Docs forum. So when I have a specific question or I'm not really understanding how I could use this interface, there are users all over, so what they like, what they don't like, how they're using it in the classroom, how they're using it themselves. So I get sort of that insider's look at, is this worth my time to check out, because I get to see people's projects. So spend some time on the blog and in the forum, and definitely keep checking in often at what's new and what's possible. I will close tonight with what I think is one of the most amazing examples of not only the embed in Google presentations, a video, but the most amazing creative uses of Google Docs. Every tool in Google has its limits, but what I know about students and teachers is that human potential is unlimited. And when empowered by tools, using human imagination and creativity, this is what you get. So 90 Seconds chronicles three teenagers who call themselves Nemick and Metcalf, and they're doing a 3-day project from working in different locations using different devices to create what they call the best presentation ever. They know animation, no fancy flash or fancy interfaces. It's all done with Google Docs. So take a look and enjoy. Playing, Lainie.
Yeah, this isn't letting it play fast enough.
All right. What I do encourage you to do is, this is a must-see. It's 90 seconds of just pure delight. Things that I didn't think were imaginable with Google Docs, showing in my mind just the epic potential of what these tools can do in the hands of creative students and imaginative teachers. So thank you so much for giving me some time to share with you what's most exciting to me. And I want to turn it now over to Lainie to close us out tonight with her fantastic top 10 tips of these amazing tools in your classroom.
Okay, well, I'm going to let the broadcast catch up, the webinar. I think we're still hanging just a little bit, so let's let that. I know it looks like it's actually playing, but catch up. So kind of playing. I just wanted to kind of throw out an interesting fact. That is that, excuse me, Cathleen and I do not live anywhere near each other. Cathleen is in Atlanta, Georgia, Angela is in Iowa, and I'm in Southern California. So we prepared for this entire presentation using Google Presentation. So it was really nice to have this collaborative process, and we really enjoyed working together this way. And I can tell you that Cathleen and I have worked on projects in Google Docs, writing chapter for a book, and it's just such a nice way to work with your colleagues, such a collaborative process. I literally spend every day in Google Docs. I don't open any other web processors or presentation tools. This is pretty much where I spend my day. So it's really been helpful to me to, are we almost up? to have this productivity tool. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you some tips. These are tips that I use, like I said, pretty much on a daily basis. And I also want to talk to you about some problems that I solved when I was in my district. And let's see, are we almost, chime in if there's anything I need to do to refresh it so that it comes up with where I left off.
Just hit the next slide.
Yeah, thank you.
I've gotten out of the presentation, gotten back in, and
you can't hear the sound with it. They can kind of see it built, and they can come back and watch it later. But if you just go forward, it should get you right to your slide.
Let's see. It's just keeping with the video, and it's not reflecting what's on my screen.
No, Lainie, I will unshare really quickly and then reshare so that you can start up Chrome again.
Okay, that's great. Thanks.
So let me.
Of course, this all worked out during practice.
It is.
My last-minute addition to put the video in because I wanted to show you the video embed component with Google Presentations. So
I think it's good to try these things out.
Experiencing and just playing around, and that we've had so much fun doing that, just creating this presentation.
Okay, it looks like I'm almost caught up.
Yep, seeing your slide deck now. And we're seeing, oh, there we go. Here's
okay, just catch up to where we left off. I should just flip through pretty quickly. We're getting there. We'll get to it, which should be just a moment. We're there. We're almost there. I can feel it. So here we go. So now we're on track. So 10 tips in 10 minutes, and Lee, Ella, and Kathleen are really efficient, and they've done good with their time. So I might take a little bit in 10 minutes. First off, before I even get started sharing what are some of my favorite tips, I just wanted to get some feedback. I know we've got a lot of great educators out there, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Angela and Kathleen, we'd all love to hear what you guys are thinking. So that URL that's on your screen, if you could go to that, and when you get a chance, either share one of the tips that we shared today that you like, or what would be even greater for us is if you shared a tip that we didn't mention. And we'll just have everyone kind of giving their feedback. And if you haven't used Google Moderator before, that's what this will take you to. And you're simply going to click on Submit a Question at the bottom. So we'd love to hear your tips as well. So tip is navigating the new documents list. And I know Angela talked about this. And so it was a little bit jarring for some of us who've been using Google Docs for years that suddenly there weren't folders, there were collections, and there was just kind of this new interface that we had to adapt to. And it's very intuitive, so we all adapted pretty quickly. But if you'd like a little refresher on what things are and why, why this and how this does what, the tip sharing with you at the top, the number. It's a link. If you click on it, it's going to take you to whatever I'm talking about, either a help document or an example of it or something like that. So just know that on all these tips, that tilt at the top is actually a clickable link, and it's going to take you to some better instruction on what I'm talking about. If you go to this link, Navigating the New Documents List, and set up a page where they give you a picture, obviously someone else's documents list, but a picture of the documents list, and it's clickable. So you can click in different sections of the image, and it will explain what's going on with that part of the new documents list. So I think that's pretty helpful for those of us who are either new to it or have been so used to the old one, trying to understand how things have changed. And I've mentioned this before, but Google Docs, Google in general is just really great at always improving their products. And so they try to change from calling it folders to collections. So it's hard to keep up with screenshots. There's so many improvements, and it's really exciting. But so forgive the somewhat outdated creator. But shared collections, known as folders. This is a really important part of how to be efficient when you're working with others, because what you can do is you can create a collection and invite people to be a part of that collection. Every time you add a document or any other files to the collection, people that you have shared with automatically get access to it. So for me, when I'm working on projects with other teams, other administrators, whoever I'm working with, it's so nice that I have this one collection. I have all the files related to that collection there. I simply add the collaborators, and then anytime I add something new, we're all there. I'm going to be even more efficient. Some of you are probably just moving from maybe using a desktop word processor or using some application. What you do is called bulk upload, and I think some of you have probably seen it, where rather than, I don't need to start from scratch. If I already have a Word document or if I already have a presentation or spreadsheet, I don't have to start from scratch. I'm just going to upload it into Google Docs. Well, I might have a lot of files that I'd like to get into Google Docs. So there's what's called bulk upload, where you're going to be able to grab entire folders or multiple files. It's a huge time saver, so I highly encourage you to give that a look. One of my favorite tips to share, especially it's just now catching up. This is one of my favorite tips to share with math teachers, and that is that there is an equation editor in Google Docs. So you can very easily insert mathematical equations. Those symbols that we don't use when we're in a word processor, now all you have to do is get into the equation editor, make your equation, insert, and there it is. It looks beautiful. And schools who have spent money on software for this, and here it is free already in Google Docs. So that's a pretty helpful one. This one is particularly helpful for me, that is the ability to chat with other collaborators. So sometimes I'm working synchronously, that means the same time as someone else. Other times I'm working asynchronously. But we're working synchronously and they're in the document with me, it's really helpful that I can actually chat with them. So here's a screenshot. There's someone named Daniel in there. And we're working on a spreadsheet. I say, Daniel, in cell D3, is this what you're looking for? I don't think that formula is going to work. Let's try this. And so you can really have that interaction, and it just makes it really enhances the collaborative nature of Google Docs. So I highly encourage that. That is one that I use on a very regular basis. It could be a whole group that we're maybe looking at a document and we're talking about how to organize it better. There's so many things that you can do in chat, but actually in the document itself, it's just up to the side that we can keep track of what I'm thinking as we're going. Okay. Another nice enhancement is the drop feature. And this isn't just for uploading files, which is amazing to me. I absolutely love that, but also works with images. So one of my favorite things is to be on a computer and to try something that I think should work, and when it does work, I just think that's amazing. And so this is an example of that, is drag and drop. Okay, I'll put this file into Google Docs. What if I just drop it here and then magically it goes in? That's just amazing to me. And I love we're using a web-based program, and if I want to drop an image in there, I can. That is one of my favorite things. I shared a tip here in the bottom left, and that is, for those of you who are real familiar with Photoshop, you probably already know this, but when you're reading images, it's very easy to have them distorted. So, sometimes that's nice, maybe make yourself a little skinnier, but for the most part, we don't usually want to distort those pictures. We want them to resize and maintain their width and height. So if, as you're resizing, if you just hold down the Shift key, it's going to force the image. It's going to make sure that the image, even though it's getting smaller, that it maintains that width ratio. So that's my favorite. So that's a tip within a tip. I hope that one helps someone. We're on to tip number 6, and define and translate. So they're just an amazing thing that for free we're able to have this reference material right here in the doc. And this is a slide that I had to update yet again because now Google Docs you can translate into one of over 53 languages. I think it's 40 for a while. I think it hovered in the 20s. So I did this presentation, but it seems like every time I do this presentation, I'm saying the number of languages. So that's really great. Now, you can either translate just a word within a document, a few words within a document, or you can translate an entire document. Just make a copy of it, and you'll just have it in one language and another, which is really nice when you've got families, got second language learners. You want to be able to share things with the family, and you want to be able to have a translation for it. So it's really nice. One definition is one nice reference material there. This came about, I'm on tip number 7, and this is drawings and diagrams. This blew my mind. I could not believe that I could actually create my own drawings and diagrams within Google Docs. And I think Kathleen mentioned this at the beginning, but there's actually a separate, it used to be that you could add drawing diagrams into like a Google Doc, and now it's its own entity. So you can just do a drawing. It doesn't have to be within a doc, a presentation, or a spreadsheet. But now you have the ability to do this. I just love the idea because I love doing concept maps with my students. I like the idea of not only using this for drawing, but also for the diagrams. So I think that's a really, really helpful one. And I went ahead and borrowed someone's screen capture for this because I did a really good job of showing both sides of that. It's really helpful. I'm on, and this is Share Docs with non-Google Docs users. So the game changer for me because I often am working with people who, for whatever reason, I can't believe this, but maybe they don't have a Google account. It's shocking, I know. But for some reason, they don't have a Google account, and so I can, when I go into the sharing settings, and you'll see all the options there, one that I really like to use is I choose anyone with a link, and now I'm going to show this in the screenshot, but then I do under edit access, I check anyone to edit. So what this does is this allows me to give a link to any of my colleagues that I want to work on the document with me. I don't have to worry if they have a Google account. I don't have to worry about which email address they have associated with their Google account. I don't have to do any of that. They're able to go to the document. They're able to start editing right away. And that's a really nice feature. So, it's great when you've got students who maybe don't have Google accounts. That's just, for me, that's a great thing. It makes it so much more accessible. Number 9, I'm going to warn you, this is a geeky one, but I do love this one. This is where someone came to me with a problem, and I said, I can solve this with Google Docs. And basically the scenario is that we had a career recovery program in my district, and the assistant superintendent wanted to know how every school was doing, actually down to the level of the teacher. How were the kids in the teacher's class doing on recovery credits? How was the school doing? And then how are we doing as a district overall? So I said, I can do this in Google Docs. And so what it is, I created this spreadsheet. And this is, you're not going to truly be able to appreciate this looking at the screenshot. Link up here where it says pull data from different spreadsheets. If you click on that, I've given you viewer access to get in here and kind of play around with this a little bit. But let me give you an example. If you look at cell C3, okay, you look at the very bottom of your screen, and hopefully it's not cut off. You might have to use scroll to scroll down. This is a completely geeky formula that I came up with. And what it is that in cell C3, inputted that formula. And what that formula means is it's going out to a different Google spreadsheet and live updating. So every time Mr. Lincoln's Apex credits for his periods go up, it's going to populate in this spreadsheet. And so all this stuff is feeding from multiple spreadsheets, and it's just basically updating that data so that someone at the district level can see how things are going and seeing if there's one that needs support, doing really well, who can we really encourage to share their best practices with others. So I just love this. And again, this is a totally geeky thing, but I can tell you that my assistant superintendent was very happy with me on the day that I shared this with him. So again, it's just, like I said, total geeky thing, but if you want to see kind of the behind the curtain of that one, if you click on the link, when you get into the presentation, I know you're looking at it on the WebEx now, but if you click on the link, pulling data from different spreadsheets, you'll be able to go in and truly interact with this spreadsheet that I've shared with you. Okay, and going to tip 10. Yeah. So this is, just want to make sure that you're aware, and to get to what you're seeing in this screenshot, you would click on the link in the title, Lesson Plans for Using Google Docs. This is basically a database of all the lesson plans that have been submitted. And you can go here and you can choose Google from the drop-down, just like it is here, and you're going to get a bunch of sample lesson plans that you could use in your class, knowing that it's going to be using the application Google Docs. And so that was really, really helpful. And I stumbled upon that. I thought I should make sure that's one of the tips. And when you get here, if you click on lesson plans for using Google Docs, of course, notice that there are resources over on the left. And down the bottom, I also gave you a link to the training site where Dana has given us access to some amazing resources. So if you can, check that out. That's a lot of information on how to use Google Apps in the classroom. I highly recommend giving that link a look. I just wanted to close with one last tip, and we'll open our Q&A. And this is something that Cathleen shared. And this is Google Meets Bloom, and this is actually something Kathy Schrock created. And I love this just because it's thinking about the different levels. Sorry, that probably took a minute for it to load. I get ahead of myself. But just looking at all the different Google tools and where it lands on Bloom's revised taxonomy. So I know we don't like to think about the tool first. We want to think about the learning objectives, but I think this is just a really good representation of how using these tools really meets those learning objectives and really fosters a lot of higher order thinking. So if you get a chance, check this out. I think Kathy did a great job putting this nice visual together for us. So hopefully that was helpful to you. And I know we want to leave some time for Q&A. I'm going to go ahead and put up our closing slide, and then let Dana jump in to facilitate some Q&A. But I want you all have this link, the presentation that we just shared, and of course all the links in it, available at that Google shortened URL right there.
Thank you, Lainie, Angela, and Kathleen. So if you have questions about anything that they talked about or any other Google Docs questions, if you can ask them in the Q&A box. And I can bring it up here. We have a couple questions already for you guys. So, asked, with all the sharing, how do we keep anti-plagiarism as a focal point? So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that, being, educators.
I'll just take that one to start out with. I think that the sharing controls that are now interfaced help us really carefully think about who we're sharing, what portion of the work we're sharing, and allow us to keep better track of the sharing. And anyone who collaborates or accesses that will have a record of it. So we'd be able to see, for example, if students were taking something that shared and using it, it has a record of their action with that content. So you know that this document was shared with blank or this document, or we could have any revisions made to the document. So I think that anything that's on the web that is open free is going to be at risk for somebody taking and using, which is something that we're going to have to talk about our kids beyond the tool or the work as part of what it means to be a global citizen. That because it is an open and free world, we have a responsibility to attribute what we gained in here, just like last example Lainie used with the Google Blooms. It's not something we created. We are using it, and we are sharing it, and Kathy created it for the purpose. But it'd be wrong of us to say, we worked all night on that thing when Kathy did the work on it. But she did it so that we could share and that we could spread it. So sharing is the core of what makes the web wonderful. I think it's a bigger conversation about attribution than plagiarism, if you will. So that's my thought.
Another question on any comments about how to get documents out of the general list and into the collections. Do they always just keep adding to the list, or is there a way to actually put them into collections? Maybe, Lainie, since you're presenting, I don't know if you could just quickly pull up your doc list and just show how you can put it in a collection.
Okay. This is another one of those really nice drag and things. I'm going to apologize for the lag, but I promise I am doing it. Okay.
Verbally address the question. There are actually two ways that you can move documents into collections. And the nice thing about collections is that you can have a document in more than one. So it doesn't have to live in just one collection. It can actually live in multiple collections if you want to. So the drag and drop method will put it in one collection, and then there's also the ability to go under the more options menu and choose and choose which collections that it's a part of. I think. No, it's a drop down menu when you mouse over it. You're able to do that.
Show up now, so we can go here and we can organize it. Or if I wanted to move to this is a peek in my world, right? So please do not do what I do as far as organization. But if I wanted to drop it into this folder right here.
Docs look more organized than your Google Docs, Lainie.
And then I just let it go, and then what you'll see is when it refreshes, notice now next to the name of the presentation, it shows which collection it is. And Dana mentioned this one below is in two different collections. So
this is a great way to teach students folder hierarchy and how to be organized. I think this is something you could even set up. I saw someone ask a question earlier about exactly, do I have to do this, or can my students create the folders? Do I need to create them? I think this is a great activity to do even at the beginning of the school year. Certain folders or collections that you want them to have so they know when they work on a certain type of document or a presentation, it goes into the presentation folder or it goes into the Chapter 1 folder. It's a great way for students to just go back, be able to easily find what it is they need to locate, especially if they want to study something or, even standardized testing. When it comes up and do some review, students know exactly where to go to get the content that they're looking for.
There was another follow-up question about can you add a folder within or a collection within a collection. Yes, you can do nested folders, so that is definitely possible. And somebody had a question on the Google Docs size limits, and so I'll be honest with you, whenever I get this question, I actually just go on Google.com and search for Google Docs size limits. So let me see if I can pull it up. I think the size for, let's see, other spreadsheet files cannot be larger than 20 megabytes. It looks like documents cannot be larger than 1 megabyte. And then presentations can be up to 10 megabytes, and other files, because Google Docs also allows you to upload any kind of regular file and use it a little bit like an online storage, can be up to 1 gigabyte. So if you have a document that's over, that's 1.3 megabytes, as somebody mentioned, sometimes that's the images. And in Microsoft Office, I believe there's the ability to compress the images in the document. Also, I would recommend, you can also use the copy and paste method or other ways. But for documents, yes, the limit right now is 1 megabyte.
And there is an image. I think that's the same for the image, because I tried to insert a couple images, and they're really high-quality images. It won't accept it. So I had to compress the image or make a less quality, and it goes in there. And that's pretty standard, but there are limits, too, for what you can insert and import.
Another question about the links on the slides. So yes, you will be, everyone will receive an email with links to this recorded webinar, the Q&A transcript, and also slide presentation, which you'll be able to click on all the hyperlinked documents and spreadsheets and everything. And there will be the ability, I believe, Lainie, that spreadsheet tip, somebody wants to know if they click on the link, will you also be able to see the full list? Open to edit, or?
But if it's not, I will make it editable.
So Lainie will double check on that. So another question here on take student input form and putting it on Google Docs. Are there privacy concerns if I allow others to view or edit with the link as opposed to being a registered Google user? So, I think that the privacy concerns would honestly be the same as any other kind of student input form. So if the teachers are seeing a paper form and also online seeing it in the online version, it's really the same thing. In terms of general privacy concerns, we have a privacy and security page on our Google Apps for Education website, google.com/a/edu. You can find the privacy and security. You own all your data. Google does not own your data. We are not, as far as privacy is concerned, it's your data. We're not doing anything with it. We're just kind of the people who are serving it to you, but it is yours to own. So there's lots of really good information on that privacy and security page, and also a white paper about Google Apps security. There's somebody who's asking for advice on creating collections for 110 students in 5 different classes. More several do not have email accounts. So Lainie or Kathleen, any tips there?
Repeat the question, Dana.
Yes. And just to clarify, they don't have Google accounts. Is that the issue?
It's like they're asking for advice on creating collections for 110 students in 5 different classes, and as you know, more than several don't have email accounts. So I'll preface it with saying that you can only access Google Docs if you have a Google account, and you do need an email address to have a Google account. However, Google Apps for Education gives the school ability to create Google Apps accounts. So for those of you who are concerned about students who are able to create accounts or don't have email addresses, if your school is able to use Google Apps for Education, the school is able to then give students an email address that is related to the school and have some more controls over that user account, so they can access or not access different services. So that's my first note there. But in terms of managing the 110 students in 5 classes, any tips?
It's in what grade level the students are, because as Kathleen said, part of the management is they have to build these habits. Students have to build these habits of sorting and understanding. It's not just access to data, it's understanding how to organize and how to sort and how to share data that makes you fully able to participate as a collaborative citizen. So obviously younger students, you would be one to manage their data, but part of this is we look at, what do we want kids practicing? I want kids to practice. I've spent hours trying to figure out how to manage my docs and all my data. The more that you create content, the more this becomes an issue. So I think it's age appropriate, it's content appropriate. What I do know is that you would have to manage that data without the tool, and that any aspect of this, whether it's a spreadsheet or whether it's just a doc or a form, is going to help you manage and handle that data more efficiently. Even if you have to learn and test out what's the best place for it, it's worth time. Can I add anything to that?
I'm going to say, the students don't always have to make the collections ahead of time. You may want to make the collections ahead of time, and maybe it's period 1, and, however many X amount of students, 20 students, they share that particular collection, and then period 2. You may just want to set those folders up ahead of time, and like I was kind of saying, first day of school, students know that anything that we're working on in period 1 goes in the period 1 collection folder. So it's kind of setting up those best practice examples for them. And once they get used to doing that, I think you're going to really see a change, like I was saying earlier, about them being even transformative themselves, because it's really important for students to be able to understand in this age of technology how to manage all of these assignments and know how to do hierarchy and go back and find what they need and to be able to collaborate. So I think just sit down, kind of even looking at your curriculum, collections according to what it is you teach, and then by class period. I think that'll be a best way to maybe manage that. And then also with the email accounts, I just have lots of teachers who make standard email accounts for their class. So Mrs. Johnson1@gmail.com, and then that group will use that one if schools don't want students to have their own personal email account.
Fortunately, we've run out of time, but for all of those who submit questions into the Q&A box, I will be exporting that transcript, and Lainie, Angela, and Cathleen and myself will be going through and answering any of the questions that we didn't get to answer directly in this webinar. Again, you will be receiving an email with links to all of the resources, including the presentation and the recorded webinar and this Q&A transcript, so you'll be able to review it later. I'd like to thank Lainie, Cathleen, and Angela for leading this webinar, and we hope that you guys were able to learn a little bit more about Google Docs and can go and get started. So thank you all for joining us today. Next week's webinar is, I think, an introduction to templates in Google Docs, in actually Google Apps. So Google Docs templates and site templates and other ways that you can use templates in interesting ways. So that's next week, April 12th at 4:30 Pacific time and 7:30 Eastern time. So we'll also send a notice for that if you want to join us for that webinar as well. So again, thank you for joining us today, and thank you to Lainie, Angela, and Cathleen for leading this, and we hope you'll be able to join us for more of these webinars in the future.
Thank you, everyone.
Patty.